And we're early for once. Let's bring this up. Okay. Today, I guess we're doing figures from imagination. And with the hope to paint these figures. See where that takes us. Oh, jeez. Just have to actually think of a pose. First, we're gonna draw our strong guy, Chad. So we're gonna know. Hey, Chobi. Yeah, yeah. I'm drawing figures from imagination today. In Paint Tool I have all programs too. Yeah. uh, Paint Tool has been nice for painting. So I'm trying to get used to it. And for drawing, I mean, so far it's been nice. It really doesn't take much for the for the drawing portion of things. Actually, maybe I want a little bit of a bend here. Yeah, when I tried Paint Tool I realized that it was you can do a lot with one brush, right? You can even blend with the brush tool. Whereas in other programs, you have to use multiple tools to do all the blending and stuff. Kind of want to just improve my raw painting skill. I tried this program once, but I definitely didn't know that the pencil brush had multiple uses. Uh, this is technically not the pencil brush. I'm just using the regular brush because I'm used to like all the other programs like Clip Studio and Photoshop. This one's the pencil brush, I guess. I don't know if it's really any different. Oh no, it's not. It has less of like an opacity and weight. It's very let's see. It stays kind of one weight and one consistency. Let's see this one. So yeah, with the brush tool you get like this thin to thick line plus the opacity. So I don't actually know what I would use the pencil brush for. Like, I suppose you could use it for inking, but I'd rather use the brush tool because it has that, like, you know, thick to thin line, right? When you push down more. Whereas the pencil, this is the brush, and the pencil is just like that, no matter how much pressure you apply. So, uh, maybe it has its uses that I don't know of yet. I don't know much about inking yet, so. I know you're not blind. I didn't actually know until I tried it just now. uh, Jacob, how many hours do you cram in every day? I'm actually literally making a video about this. I have a drawing habit. The video is almost done, trying to make it out for this Saturday. But I have my habit is only for 2 hours a day. I have increased that from 30 minutes that I used to do over a set amount of time. Okay, so we're looking up. Four. 2 hours is a good amount, yeah. I think so. I feel like honestly it's still supposedly you get if there's research behind how much time you actually get the most focused work done. And I think 2 hours was like one of the sweet spots before you start losing like your attention. um, let's see how I want this post to be. Um, but I did start at 30 minutes. And I did that for several months until I went up to an hour. And then I went from an hour to 2 hours at some point. I don't remember when. I don't keep track of my time spent drawing nowadays. Probably draw around 1 to 2 hours to wind down after work. For me, it's mostly about making sure I'm showing up and doing the time that I said. Um, It's not necessarily to be like, oh, I drew this amount of time, you know? It's like more like checks and balances for myself. Hey, Keel. I'm doing good, thanks. How are you? Time yourself is meant to improve efficiency, right? Um, there there are times where you might want to do that. Um, but it's more for creating a habit, like especially in the beginning. Um, I knew, 30 minutes is not a lot of time, especially if you're a beginner, right? Like you're slow when you draw in the beginning. Um, I'm taking my time here, but like I can. Sorry, this every time I talk about stuff, I'm always like, there's so many little nuances, and I could talk about this forever. I'm basically as you improve, you get faster, but then you learn more and you get slower because you're trying to add more into the drawing and take your time. And then you get faster again as that knowledge becomes what is the word? Instinct. It's like it's really nailed down in your brain, right? Um, so at first, 30 minutes, I could draw pretty fast, and it was really just about showing up. It wasn't really about improving. I was just making sure that I was creating a habit for myself. And now that I'm at 2 hours, it's still about it's still about showing up for myself, but also improving. Hi, robot. Yes, I'm drawing from imagination today. Good boy. Hi. Good boy. Just like Bruce. Yeah, come here. Hey. Come here. There you go. Okay. Bye. Yeah, drawing daily is, I would say it's still not really second nature to me, you know? Um, and that's why Joby, it's not really meant to improve efficiency. You can use it to improve efficiency, and some people do. They do like speed paintings to see how well that they could do. Um, and when I took a what was it? A character design course. Um, I was having trouble coming up with ideas, and I would tinker away with it. And my teacher had me time myself for I forget what it was. I think it was like 30 minutes. And he told me to start a 30-minute timer and just crank out ideas. And for whatever reason, that worked. And I was finally able to come up with the ideas that I needed. So sometimes timing yourself can get you out of your own head. And just get you to do the thing. So it really depends. It has multiple uses. For me, it is it is a method to just make sure I stay consistent right now. First sign of improvement is that you spend less time on each stage of the process. That's why it's good to practice drawings more than once. Yeah, no, that's true. So long as the drawings are still coming out good, if you're just speeding up for speed's sake, that's not good either. But yes, theoretically, uh, that means if you speed up, that generally means you've improved. And that's always a good thing. Friggin' hard to draw tiny heads. Hi Zeph, morning. Nice of you to say hi to everybody. Uh, One thing I learned from my drawing class is that once you start polishing and focusing on a specific area body part, the part will end up smaller or bigger than the rest. That's interesting. Um, Probably very true, actually. It's because you get so honed in on it, you stop relating it to the rest of the figure. I mean, you do have to eventually focus on certain parts, right? So it's just can't avoid them forever. Um, being too big. That's funny. I'm like the opposite. It's like my head's always too small. I just I have no control, you know. Um I feel like I get drawings that come out great and drawings that come out terrible with I mean drawings from imagination, I mean. Um and I just like I feel like there's no control over it. It just is either shit or it's pretty good. Like this doesn't look good to me. And I don't really know how to fix it, so we just keep moving. And then we study, and then we learn more, and yada yada. I'm gonna think of a pose. Symmetry drawing characters struggle with proportions as they have shorter legs and really long torsos. Yeah, that's challenging. It does help you though. Like, there was this study about how, um, these, I'm not gonna get all the details right, but basically they had these people, they tested them. It was like an athletic skill or something where they had to throw a ball, um, I think it was like 10 meters away or something, 10 feet maybe. And there was like a, oops, and there was a something that they had to aim for. It was like one of those weird little games, right? You had to throw the ball into it. And you had one group that would just practice throwing this exact distance, and then you had another group who would practice uh, um, throwing. I think it was something like 3 and you know 12 or something like this. Again, I don't remember the details. I just remember it was basically one group that was doing the exact distance, the exact thing that they were meant to do, and the other group that was varied. And the group that was varied, when they were tested on this exact distance that the first group was practicing the whole time, did better. And were more accurate because they learned to adjust their strength between these two activities to better judge it here when they got over here, even though they hadn't done this particular distance yet, and this other group had been practicing only at that distance. So that you can um, extrapolate that meaning for learning something like figure drawing. If you're only drawing one type of figure, if I was only drawing muscly, big muscly dudes, which I don't normally draw, like I would have trouble the moment. Well, not only do I have trouble with the big muscly dude, I would have trouble anytime I moved to like a character that was tinier and skinny and small, right? Whoop. Um, but if you draw multiple types of figures, you're going to be stronger at any of these types of figures because you know how to vary, you know how to change the proportions. So if you're drawing that Zora character, you're going to learn how to draw some interesting, cool stuff, and it will make your regular figures stronger because you'll be able to spot, you'll know, like, oh, these are really adjusted proportions for this type of character. So um, I know what that looks like, and I'll know what it looks like when my character, a normal proportion character, looks super off, right? Expanding the comfort zone. Hmm. There's a lot. There's a lot of people who think if they study this one type of figure, that it's like it'll make them stronger at this figure. And I beat my head against the same thing by studying heads. It was just like drawing head after head after head. And I did get better eventually, but very, 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 very slowly. If I had like studied heads and then moved on to other types of anatomy, then come back, study different type of character heads, like big ones, small ones, skinny ones, I would have gotten better and more flexible with my skill, and it would have taken much less time. Okay, I need new books. So these are character highlights, so they kind of have to be pretty straight on. They can have some perspective. I mean, there's perspective happening here. It's kind of like this. Oops. Yeah. So much, but I'm not going to change it because I don't know how. Nice anatomy book by Gottfried Bombs. Know that one. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily want that. He's still a designer. Like, I don't. I mean, it's nice to see realistic anatomy. It's not. But I'm always trying to design it. But I think I know what you're trying to say is that, you know, it's not just idealized proportions. There's a variety that's actually feels more relatable to real people and not just like models. Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, sorry, it's hard to come up with a post from imagination on stream, so give me 1 second. I am not as adept as someone like Arcelli or Night Sang. Got something. Do that the other day. Yeah. Lost some music. Be right back getting coffee. Okay. You okay? What happened? Going up. Up. Probably gonna see a bit of his back here. So hang on. Keel. While doing figure drawing, how do you visualize the whole body? Just say you simplified the body to basic shapes and you rotate the figure, change the pose. How do you get your head around this? Like, how can you visualize the change in shapes? Meaning, how do I turn the shapes in space, kind of thing? Like, I learned that the rib cage looks like this. I'm like, how do I turn it so it's, we'll do that. So it's like that kind of thing. Zev, you're a sweetie pie. Thank you very much. You don't have to do that. I appreciate it though. Keel, is that what you're talking about with the whole turning shapes in space? Are you having trouble? and you're just using anatomy as like a base point. Yes, that one. That is the challenge of learning to draw um, from imagination. Is once you start realizing that like you've been drawing, this front view for a while, uh, that you realize you don't know what the hell this looks like. Well, this is just a circle, so it doesn't take too much effort. But once you start adding in the collarbone and you get the freaking scapula in there and uh, and the neck and everything. Now, when you look at that from above, like you gotta turn this into this stuff, which is what I'm doing right now. uh, and yeah, it can get super confusing. Motivation to keep practicing. Thank you. I'm sufficiently motivated. I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, after you study it this way for a while and then you turn it and you're like, okay, I don't know how to freaking do this anymore because it looks totally different. And I've mentioned this before, but that's why you have to be careful about finding one solution. Like when I try to find the shoulders, I always kind of look for um, where the rib cage is, right? And that kind of helps me find my shoulder line. I relate it to this muscle, but that's not going to work for every pose, right? It's going to change. So there's not one solution for the whole figure, and that's uh, maybe it's a little scary to realize because you have to know a lot more, but it's also kind of fun because it becomes more interesting and there's a lot more different ways that you can design it. But as far as turning the shapes in space, that is literally the challenge of, I mean, aside from coming up with poses, which you will learn by studying poses and then trying to remember them from memory. But the biggest challenge is really what does this shape look like as it's turned, and when you see like if this arm was foreshortened and this would just be exaggerated, but you get the and that's as you turn the arm, like how the hell do you start doing that? You have to learn. This is why I like the uh like TV Choi's book, for instance. Where did I actually think it's in my bedroom because I was using it last night. This is why I like the anime style reference of learning, because when they do the muscles, if we draw the arm in a regular pose again, they they kind of break down each individual component into like these, and this is the way that you'll learn from like Western books too, but they don't simplify it like this. They'll do the like little analogy of what is it, the chain, I think. Or it's like, give me a minute because this is, I'm gonna forget what this looks like. Uh, I apologize for the poor chain. Right. And they tell you to think of it like interlocking parts. But then they don't actually draw it like this. Well, they draw all the like little detailed anatomy bits and everything. So if you can get your hands on like TB Choi's book doesn't go into super detail about anatomy and stuff. You can find a lot of stuff on like her Twitter where she'll break down the figure. Yeah, I can pop in an example because my drawings pale in comparison. Um, let's see. Where she breaks it down quite a bit. Here's one. Oh wait, make sure there's nobody naked in these photos. Okay, we're good. So, Akio, if you can see here, you see how she's... Oh, these lines are a little soft, but... Why are my lines so soft? Whoop. And she's not drawing it here, everything, but that is a section. That is a section. That's a section. You can see it in some of these places. She doesn't do it everywhere. Oh, this is a wonderful example. Look at these legs. Like this is a cutout. Some people will even cut it there. I like to cut my ankle like that. Right? And sometimes people will even cut the foot into multiple pieces. Oh yeah, she's got one right here. 1, 2, 3. The chain stuff is just trying to show you, trying to illustrate that it's interlocking like this, your muscles. So this is your shoulder, your bicep, your forearm, and they kind of like if they were like Lego snap pieces, you know, they would snap in like that, or like that. They kind of whoop, they interlock. Where did my pen literally went into a black void? It fell into my pocket. That's magic. Uh, so they interlock. So rather than like two, um, goddamn, cannot draw two tubes, right? That just like smush into each other, right? You're gonna have how do we draw? You're gonna have what is that stupid, the Lincoln Logs, you know, where um they have cutouts like this. I feel like I'm gonna suck at this, so hang on one sec. We're gonna get a close-up. I need to learn how to teach this anyways, so let's this isn't gonna work actually. I'm realizing now. That's why the Lincoln Log people do it better. You have to do it this way. Whoop. So they will cut out, right? Like this. And then right. And then how the hell do you draw that? Okay, like that. Like that. This is the first time I've had to teach this, so it's a little funky. Let me increase that size. Boop. And then they go into each other like that. Right? Does that make sense, Akil? The chain thing with the Lincoln Logs? Artists achievement unlocked. That the apple pens would be gone for days. Oh my gosh. Attached to your ironing board. Um, and then again, if you look at this foot, like you have to always relate it back to the hole, but when you start doing this, breaking it into pieces like this, it becomes easier to turn those shapes and imagine what they look like in uh in your head. You know, a lot of people use the underwear shape for I use it for the pelvis, right? And then as it turns towards you, you know, you can make it more complicated, but it is just a box. So this becomes that, right? When it's straight on, it just looks like that. Yeah, sort of. I lost you. I'm sorry. I did my best. Have you ever seen Lincoln Logs, Akil? Hi, JKO. All right, four. Oh, you haven't? What's that? Lincoln Logs? Are the things kind of like what I showed you? They were a big thing when I was a kid. Lincoln Logs? Are they even still a thing? I guess they kind of are. They're just basically like little building toys. And like I said, they have a shape cut out so that they sit on each other like the chains. Doggo. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right there. Hey, baby boy. Akil, what were your hurdles you had to face while learning to draw, like from the beginning? Is it like not knowing what to practice or something else? How did you go about it? Uh, I mean, uh, I feel like I had mostly the same struggles as everybody else. My biggest was just getting myself to draw and being scared and frustrated to actually just making a toxic relationship with it. You know, like I said in the video, it's hard to remember the actual like the drawing struggles um now. It feels like almost forever ago. And sometimes I try to remember what it was like to not be as good uh at this stuff because I'm definitely a lot better. Not as good as I want to be, but I'm better, and I try to remember what it was like when I was just not good at all. And I don't think I cared for a while. I was just having fun. But yeah, really the biggest thing that I struggled with was getting myself to actually draw so that I could improve and not getting frustrated. Um, but how I went about it is not really, I don't really go about it anyway. I just forced myself through it, which is why I had such a terrible relationship with my art. Um, and why it took me so long to even get this far. Hey Zev, you gotta go. Hope you have a good Wednesday. Draws to me a lot, but remember to rest is important too. Yes, thank you, Zev. That's awesome. Thank you also for your donation. That was very kind. I hope you have a really great day too. Make sure you take your own advice and rest. I feel I am that way too, Zephyr. Yeah, I feel like it's very relatable experience. I saw it a lot in school, like people who there were more people who were like frustrated and can't get themselves to draw than there were people who were just like self-starters. They would just jump right into it and be totally fine. And you know, I was jealous of those people, especially the ones that were good at art too. They usually were the ones that were good because they took the time to do it. But it's easy to look at some of the people who I think I did this a lot in schools. It was easy to look at somebody who was good and just like get kind of frustrated and be like, well, he draws a lot because he's good and doesn't have to look at his shitty drawings, right? Um, and that definitely went through my head a couple of times, but it's just like, yeah, but they had to sit through their terrible drawings too at one point. um, And it gives you this false sense of like, if only I can draw, if only I would draw well, then I would draw all the time. I wouldn't have trouble drawing or getting myself to draw. But that's not really true. People who are really good at this stuff still can have trouble getting themselves to draw. Like, it's just because you're good and it's pretty to look at, you see more things, right? That's why it is kind of nice that at every stage, even when we suck, like we don't see enough yet to be disappointed in all the things that like a master artist would see. We only see the few things that we understand that we're bad at. And that's why you have times where you'll like draw something and be like, man, I really did an amazing job. It still sucks if you like compare it to artwork as a whole. But for you, it kicked ass. Like, you improved a lot. You did a great job. Um, so at every step of the way, as long as you have a healthy relationship towards it, you can really enjoy the process of art and take your time. It's just a matter of understanding that and not getting caught in the all the negative mindset that comes with creating, which is difficult because a lot of times you don't even realize that it's happening. Bye, Akil. We can't see all the work they put in their craft. That's a lot to carry around if we did, yeah. To most everyday people, most artists are impressive in their eyes. Yeah, that's true. That's why most the general population is super entranced by whenever something is like crazy realistic. It's just like, you do. It kind of annoys me to this day, but I mean, to each their own, whatever you want to do. But super realistic stuff is the easiest stuff to get good at because it's literally just copying. That's it. You're just learning how to see. You're learning how to observe and how to record what you observe. It's just straight copying. There's no design involved. But the general population is like, oh my God, he's like a camera. And it's just like, you do understand that like the stuff that they make and like the animators make and stuff that's really stylized, that is way more, takes way more skill and training than those realistic drawings. Yeah. Well, it just looks like magic. It's like, how did you do that? Someone who tries it for themselves, like, it seems impossible. But when I went to the atelier school, it was just like further proof. Like, we had straight just beginners who had no experience, and within a few months, like, they're drawing the same way we are. Like, people who have had years of experience. That they're drawing perfect copies and they look good. Um, because that the atelier experience is literally all about observation, learning how to record what you see. Oh yeah, artistic creative expression is cool in basically any of its forms. Although modern art is kind of weird. Um, like installations, like when they put it's different kinds of art. They're not really, I don't think you're meant to compare them because you can't, right? Like an installation where they paste a banana on the wall or something and it's meant, the title is meant to make you think, you know, it's a different kind of art. It's not meant to be highly skilled at something, but it's meant to make you think. Yeah, I do too. Okay. There was too much perspective on this pose. I gotta do something that's more straight on. Let's draw. What do you may now? Do the ladies. They have more fun poses, anyways. I mean, that stuff is just tax evasion. uh, Sometimes, yeah. But there are artists that actually enjoy that kind of stuff, that like deep thinking, and there are cool things that come out of weird modern art stuff. Like there was that guy who did all the sculptures that were all like cut folded paper. You ever see that? And you could like pull it apart like a slinky. That was cool as hell. Like totally weird shit can sometimes have the coolest um interesting stuff. Obviously that is not the same as taping a banana on the wall, but um again, different kinds of art where you can't really compare them. It's hard. I think my questions are finally being answered. I was listening to a podcast on stuff I asked about 1 or 2 years ago now being discussed in depth of the poses and anatomy. Thank you. Are you, do you mean we're talking about it now, JQ? Yeah, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask. I will do my best to answer. What's the time here, Keel? It's 9:50. Oh, which I should also be taking a mild break. RM Animations, how's it going? Uh, oh, if you have any questions, Jakey, I could, oh God, answer them while I stand up and take a mini standing break. Let me get the little stepper thing. Okay, turn that up. There's definitely art installations that actually are art. Then there's the auction art house world for millionaires that just buy and sell art for the sake of tax evasion or money laundering. Yeah, no, that is true. I think they buy art, like real art too, for money laundering as well. So, um, or at least uh, maybe not money laundering, but they buy it as a means for so that they're not keeping their money in a bank, right? So that it's an asset that they can sell or do something with. JKO, yes, and from a podcast from today I was listening to, I'll definitely let you know something's confusing me. What podcast were you listening to? We'll do a couple of female Orihime poses. I think I already made her too tall, so I'll shorten her up a bit. It is, you are right, for it is hard to balance proportions when you switch to different types of characters. Uh, Curious if you use art books and which ones have you found most helpful? Yeah, I use art books. I've used a ton. Uh, Deciding which ones are the most helpful probably be a little bit difficult. Let me see if I were to choose like three that are probably really great. Let's see. Creative Illustration by Andrew Loomis, because that will, it's basically the basics but about composition and uh, composition design is kind of everything when you're learning this stuff. And it covers, whatever, if you're going to learn figures or environments or whatever, it covers all of that. So definitely that one. It's not technically like a beginner book, but very good. Um, because I'm a character designer, or I want to be character designer, I would say TB Choi's book. The I have it in the other room. Um, it's like how to design anime figures or something like that, or create your own characters. That's really great because it shows you how to design anatomy and characters. It's kind of very basic and skims along every little topic, but it will help a lot. There's really no, there's not very many books, if any, that design, if you like that anime styled look, that design figures like that and design them that well. TB Choi is very skilled. So yeah, those two. What else? Sorry, my books are right here, so I'm like looking at them and thinking. Uh, I haven't had enough time to go through them, so I can't super like I've only gone through them a little bit. Um, but it's these books. They're called Morpho by Michel Lord Lorcella. I think he's French. Went to school in Paris. There's like 5 of these or something, but I've studied them a little bit so far, and they're really great at simplifying the musculature. Again, this is for characters. I don't know if you want to do. My books are falling. Uh, as well as doing Ho Kim's perspective book. Okay, I gotta look that one up. I don't know that. Ho Kim perspective. Dong Ho Kim. Oh shoot, this looks awesome. This is like Kim Jong Gi. Kim Jong Gi. Okay. Well, you introduced me to a new book. Thank you. I feel like I've seen this one on. Yeah, doesn't Kim Jong. Is it Gong? I can't pronounce his name. I know it's Gi, the last one. But his middle name, I don't know. He has a book too, doesn't he? Yeah, you want to do character stuff? Then yeah, those three are really good. TB Choi's will be really good for making characters. There's unfortunately for character design, there's not a whole lot of resources for character design that are very good. Originally, I think when like you applied to Art Center, there's like big school out here. It's kind of like I want to say it's one of the biggest art schools, or I want to say it's the biggest art school for getting into entertainment design. So characters, environments, whatever. Um, I think that's they used oh my God, I'm gonna forget the name of it. It was like the basis for all like if you wanted to apply to that school, you would use that book as like a formula for your portfolio. Oh my God, I'm gonna forget the name of the book. It's not I don't really find I didn't find it that helpful. There's very few books on character design, I'll put it that way, that are good. I would say they have like anime character design books, but they're not very good. Yeah, Kim Jong Gi, can't go wrong with him. Very awesome stuff, and his I unfortunately didn't know this until he passed away, but I started looking at his work afterwards, and uh, he I I guess we follow the same kind of stuff for learning how to like draw things in space. So he definitely knew how to get you to be able to draw like him, where you didn't need reference for anything. You could come up with everything in your head. Do you have a favorite manga artist, Akil? It's Takeshi Obata. I actually have one, so I don't know if you ever read Hikaru no Go. Such cool and gorgeous illustrations. Bitch. So cool. Discovered him around 2011, so his passing really broke my heart. Yeah, I never got to meet him or anything. I did know about what I was like aware of him, his presence and what he was able to do, but I had never looked into his art until after he passed. I, I probably had a few opportunities to meet him too, and I'm sorry that I didn't. It seemed like a real, it had a very big impact on the art community. Jakio, you watched the Draftsman podcast. Okay. The other guy's name is Marshall Vandrough. He was actually my teacher for a little while. He's amazing. He kind of has like a. You ever watch Star Trek, the Jean-Luc Picard? He's got a Picard voice. When I first had a class with him, he was like, uh, it was. I was just drawn in by his voice. But yeah, we were. I could probably still reach out to him now. I just haven't because I want to be a good artist before I reach out to him. But I drove him to a couple of like art galleries and stuff. He introduced me to some other teachers and students. He was a very awesome, wonderful, nice guy. Your music's on, honey. Um, but yeah, I love Marshall. I've met you know Proko a bunch of times too. Him and Marshall are really good friends. I think that's why they decided to do their podcast together. I was just shutting the door, baby boy. Go on. Up, up, up. Good boy. Yeah, they they're really great. I've listened to their podcast a couple times. I would not say I agree with everything that they say, but they have a lot of collective experience and they really know what they're talking about. So, and Marshall's done a bunch of videos about like animal drawing and perspective. I don't have to pull everything up or redraw the entire body. I'm just gonna do that. Um, Heart for the doggo, thank you. Didn't he do Death Note too? Takeshi, don't know the full name. Yeah, Takeshi Obata did. I fell in love with him mostly when he did. I mean, I already knew Hokaru no Go, but then he did Death Note. But after that, he did Bakuman, and Bakuman is one of my favorites. If you don't know, it's about two manga artists. I have the box set and everything, and his art book, and actually, he had a gallery in Japan, and you know, the dude's like, I don't know, 40, 50 or something, and after all that time, he had his first gallery, so I was like, I am gonna go visit Japan, because this will probably be the only time he has a gallery. So that was the first time I visited, well, first and only time, just before the pandemic, that I visited Japan. I got to see his gallery, which was all the Death Note and Hikaru no Go, Bakuman. He had done another manga, I think called Never Complete at that point. Um, and I actually got to meet him in person. He didn't speak a lick of English. Um, my mom actually went with me to Japan because she wanted to visit too, so she was the one that spotted him. I was going through the gallery for the second time, and my mom had already been through. And then she said, I think I just opened the door for Takeshi Obata. So apparently there was a back door, and nobody was there to let him in. So my mom opened the door for him, and he went into a back room. She saw him, so she called me, and so I rushed out of the gallery, and then we just waited until he came out of this back room. And at the time, on my phone case was a custom phone case that had Bakuman on the back, his manga. And even though we couldn't communicate, I showed him the back of my phone, and he like smiled and laughed, and then he shook my hand. I think we have a picture of it somewhere, but it was really cool. Uh, I always loved how good about it is that aging characters such a subtle way you don't notice it. Yeah, he's good at a lot of stuff. He is quite awesome. Um, that's so cool, man. Thanks, Akil. Yeah, I was pretty psyched about that day. That was a good trip, good day, good everything. Jake, explain one of my questions on how to bring school to your home if you can't afford or go to college. It's a bit challenging because I'm having two jobs. I still have a lot of time in between to kind of work on some practice. I guess I'm really trying. That is a lot, man. I I feel for you because I haven't had to have two jobs, thankfully, but I know what it's like to work a job that is not what you want to do, and also, you know, sucks in the nicest way possible. That's what I'm trying to do now is try to get this YouTube stuff off the ground so that I will I'll only have to do this and I could happily, you know, teach people and stuff. I feel like I have a better method for teaching than the schools that I grew up with. Um, and I would like to bring that to people. Just putting all that together takes a shit ton of time and effort. We'll get there, and it will be freaking awesome when we do. What are your two jobs, Jakey? If you don't mind me asking. I used to work at Banana Republic. Thankfully, I worked in the stock room. I didn't have to deal with annoying people. See you later, four. One came out pretty good. Just gotta do the hands. position. I'll be home in a few minutes. Nice. That's good to know, Jake. You. Only trying to rotate the rib cage. Got the side plane somewhat right, but struggling from the back. Uh, yeah, the back of the rib cage can be a little difficult. Because the rib cage, like we draw it as an orb looking thing, right? Like a ellipse. That's that from the front, from the side. Opening here. There. Um, but when you actually look at it top down, you can draw that same orb. But there's actually a kind of dip in it, I guess you could say. That's where the spine fits in. So when you look at it from the back, he shows us in the Morpha books, I think. Um, too much. There's this kind of indent in the back. You'll notice that if you feel your own back, it's not perfectly round. It goes in like that, and then your spine is there, so that pops out. So it's more like like that. Oh yeah, you're right. Got that. It was drawing both the front and side plane, kind of the same. I guess I do have a question. I feel I'm confident after doing gestures. Do I start anatomy? If so, where would you recommend I start? But yeah, you don't need to master gestures by any means in order to start anatomy. Where should you start? Hmm, that's a good question. Let me think. I would probably what I would usually like to do is start with the whole figure, um, so that I always know that I'm relating back to the whole. Um, so you could draw the skeleton first, like just a basic skeleton, full figure. If that's a little intimidating, you can start out first by drawing the figure in simple terms, meaning basic shapes. I don't know how far you in the gesture. If you haven't done any studying of anatomy, or like all your gestures are kind of like this, uh, or you just literally, you know, doing this stuff, then yeah, skeleton might be too much. And I would just start to introduce shapes. So drawing in simple terms like this. Try to draw your figures now. You could even delineate like that. You could still keep your feet simple at first, but at least you've got that going. There's good tiny legs here. Hang on. Start checking your proportion. But yeah, basically moving from line gesture to shape. And then you can even start doing that with your legs here. So I'd move, if you were doing that gesture that I showed before, then I would move to this kind of thing for shape. Hey MD Zaid, how's it going? Not like stick figures, are kind of like a silhouette, I would assume. A silhouette. Um, so you're drawing outside shapes. Uh, so it's like, ooh, outside shapes, huh? So we don't have any internal shapes? That's gotta be tough. So you're drawing like this? What- what- Is this how you're drawing? This is crazy. I would have trouble with that. Although I'm actually proud of myself for that feels pretty successful right there. I could send some examples to you. They're very good look. Oh, they aren't very good looking. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome to do that. Um, it's okay. Everybody starts somewhere. You don't have to worry about your figures looking as good as mine or as good as another any artist that you look up to. They just have to be good for you. And sometimes they won't be either. And that's okay. You're gonna get better. Kind of like what you have right now, a mixture of both. Like the first one mixed with what you have now. Oh, then yeah, if you have a mixture of what I have now, this thing right here, uh, you are free to move into the skeleton. I actually just drew the skeleton yesterday. Surprisingly challenging to draw it from straight on, like perfectly when you draw like this. It's just like whoop, perfect. That way too big. It's a little long. Right. That's easy to sketch, but surprisingly difficult when it's much larger. And you have to, add more details. Yeah, okay. Well, we gotta practice hands, so just know that they're not gonna come out perfect. It's something. Oy. Oops. Turned out pretty good too. The female poses were more successful. All right, guys. I think that's gonna be it for today. We got 4 poses. It's funny how they always get better as I go. It's like I need a shitty warm up in order to get through it. But the last one especially has a lot of good things going for it. So I'm happy about that. we're just gonna keep plugging away. Thank you for showing up, guys. I know a bunch of you have left. Akil, if you're still here. MD, Zahid, if you're still here. Thank you for showing up. Jakio, you can send me your drawing if you want. But I'm pretty sure you're okay to start studying skeleton stuff. It'll help you figure out where like the bony points are in the body, and when you layer muscle on top of it, how that looks. I haven't studied too much of it, and I can still get here, but I know in order for my knowledge to get better, more flexible, I have to study. Sorry, no, it's okay. It's just because I'm drawing quickly, so by the time you respond, I'm like, which first one? And I've already like erased some of it, so but yeah, I will get better at this stuff. And I'm studying anatomy right now too, so skeleton and muscles all together. All right. Again, I appreciate you guys dropping by. Catch y'all Monday, probably. See you.